So today, guys, I want to speak about the difference between ref and reactive. All right, this ref here and reactive in Vue. These two guys here. When I started out Vue, these two guys really confused me, and I really never knew exactly which one should you use and which one is the most preferred in most cases. So today I want to speak about the difference between these two guys, and then you can decide on which one to use in the cases that we'll be facing. So with me, I've installed a Vue.js application. So this is a totally blank new application. There's nothing here. I've just cleaned up some things, but no need to worry, because in this application I want to really focus on the ref and the reactive functionality. If I go to my browser and here, you'll see that there is nothing here. So even the template, as you can see, there's nothing in the template here. And if, for example, let us say just put let me just say testing ref and reactive, something of that sort, and then I go back here. All right, now you see we have this paragraph here. So that is all that we need here. So I'm going to start with the ref. I've imported here. We don't even need this computed because I'm not going to use I've imported reactive and ref from Vue. So the ref and the react and the reactive classes of Vue, they are basically used to create reactive elements, or reactive, you can say, data types, in the sense that if you update these values behind the scene, the UI will be automatically updated and these values will be reflected in the UI. All right, and that is why they are called reactive. When you change this value, they cause the UI to react or to be updated, and vice versa. When you update the UI, of course, they will also be updated. So the way you declare a ref, so I just say const, for example, age, and then I could just say I'll use the ref guy here, and then I'll pass, you can pass here a default value which is 0. And something now interesting about this guy is that I'm going to create a function here, and this function I'm going to say, let us call this function increment, just to increment this value. So when you create a variable using this ref class here, what happens behind the scene is that basically it takes your age here and creates it creates an object out of this guy. All right, so and then it creates something like a value here, and then says that your value is now 0. All right, so for you to access this value that is in this age here, you need to say, for example, return, let us say return, or let us say for now just age dot value to access the value, and then maybe I need to increment this value here. So behind the scene, it has created an object, and that is why I need this dot value in order to get the value before I do the increment. And what I'm going to do is that if I come here to the template, I'm going to put an h1 here, and inside this h1 I'm going to to do an interpolation here and just echo out this value age. So the good thing with this ref guy here is that when accessing this value in my template, I don't need to use the dot value. So this value will be binded directly to the age parameter, so I can only do something like this. All right, so now if I go to the browser, let me just add a button here to call my function here. So I can just say button, and then I can just say increment the value like that, and then I can just use an add click, and then I can just call the increment guy like that. So that is fine. So now if I go here, The button is not that clear, but anyway, just for testing. So if I click this guy, as you can see now, the value is being updated on the fly. And this is because I'm calling this value and I'm updating it, and then it's getting the value back here. And again, something else with this ref, as I've said, is that you can be able to access this value on the fly using the template. So here on the button here, I can simply do something like age, and then I can just do something like that instead of using the increment guy here, and this will still update the value on the fly. All right, so as you can see, the value is still being updated like that. So when I go back here, again, I can be able to pass here, be it an object, say for example a name, something like that, and say maybe the name is Kevin Amai, and then let's call this person, and then now we can pass maybe the age here and say the age is 56, and maybe the profession is software developer. This should be in quotes like that. So that is fine. And then down here, I can be able actually now to access the name simply by doing this. So let me just remove this, click here like that. Then if I go now to the browser, so of course this need to be not age, but now should be person like that. Then now if I go to the browser, and now you can see my name has appeared here. And again, if I want to access the age, I can do the same thing. If I go back here, this will update my name. And if again I want to access the profession, I can just say the profession like this. So this will update my my profession. So again, I can be able to do something like this. Let us say I have a name, and then maybe hobby, and then of course hobby can be something like maybe like an array here, and say maybe eating, maybe singing, and maybe swimming, something of that sort. And then down here I can simply say something like hobby, that is the array, and then I want to access the first parameter. So if I go back here, as you can see, it shows eating. All right, and again, if I want to access the second guy, the third guy can be something of that sort. And this is reactive. It updates on the fly, as you can see, swimming. And also I can be able to do something like something interesting, like maybe I want to add an element here on hobby. I can do something like hobby. So let me use this button, add click. I need to get the person guy and dot hobby. All right, dot push. So I want to push an element here, and maybe this element is reading, something of that sort. And now if I just do like this here, I'm showing the hobby array. So I expect to see eating, singing, swimming, and reading, because I've added an element here. So let us try this and see. As you can see, this is eating, singing, swimming. All right, so I need to click this guy here, and as you can see, reading has been added. All right, so if I click again, it's going to add this guy. So that is what happens. And again, if I go back here, and let us change this swimming to something like dancing. All right, if I go back here and just wait, as you can see, it updates on the fly. And that is why it is called a reactive element, or a reactive variable. It changes the data on two ways. So it updates the UI when it changes behind the scene. So the other guy that I wanted to share with you is the reactive guy, all right? The reactive guy. And the thing about this reactive guy is that when you create an element, you have to pass an object in this guy here, and then you need now to pass, for example, the age of this guy is maybe 20. And now when it comes to showing the data for this guy is that you need to access the data. As you can remember, in the first state, what we did is that for us to be able to access this age, what we did is that we were doing something like this. If you can remember, we were doing something like this: person, or rather what I did was age, and I just said const, I just said ref, and then I just passed my age here. All right, but now instead, when I declare this guy, since it creates an object, I need a way of accessing the age. All right, and that is why I have declared a person and reactive, then an age. This is how you declare using the reactive. And now to access the age, I need to do something like this. All right, otherwise I won't be able to get the age. So now if I go to the browser, as you can see, now we have the age. And in order to increment this value now here, I need again to say person.age, all right, dot, rather the plus, and then if I go back here, then let me just add this. Now I can be able to increment this value. So if I go back here with the first guy, I can just do something like age is equals to ref like this, and then I just pass the value here. All right, but with this guy here, reactive, I need to pass an object. So the thing with these two guys, personally I prefer using this guy because I can be able to manipulate it as much as I want and play around as much as I want without necessarily doing dot something to get the value. And again, one thing with this reactive guy here is that with this reactive guy, you cannot be able to pass here, like a string. You cannot do something like maybe something like this, or you cannot be able to pass like maybe a number or even something like a float, right? So that is one disadvantage of using the reactive. You can only pass an object, an array, or a map. These are the only options that you are limited to do or to use. While this other guy, you can be able to pass all the guys that you want: a string, an object, an array, a map, whatever, a number, a float, yeah. So that is one disadvantage with this reactive class here. And again, something else about this reactive state is that when you read the documentation is that there is what we call non-destructive friendly here, which says when we destructure a reactive object primitive type property into local variable, or when we pass that property into a function, we lose the reactivity connection, which is really bad state, in the sense that for example here we have declared a reactive variable here, and when we destructure it like this to get the count variable and try to do something like this won't update the initial value behind the scene. All right, it won't update this state. And again, when we pass this value into a function like this, it won't update the initial value. All right, in other words, we have lost the reactivity, and hence the UI won't be updated. So that is one thing that you need to be really careful while using this reactive element guy. So that is it. I hope you have understood the difference between this reactive and this ref guy. And I recommend highly to oftenly use this ref guy as much as you can, and only use this reactive, in maybe cases, maybe you have only one object and you are using it for minimal functionality. But otherwise, as usual guys, leave a comment and subscribe. And until we meet again, bye bye.